Hello everyone and welcome to the latest edition of the Vitality Coaches Wellbeing Programme. My name's Jamie and my role at Vitality is Head of Health Engagement, and we're filming today from a special location in the core of Brixton. Now our guest today is someone that I've admired for a really long time. I first came across him on the High Performance podcast around 2 or 3 years ago, and since that moment I've kind of always wanted us to be able to work with him. And I once, one evening quite late, was stalking him, as he wouldn't know at the moment, on Instagram, where I came across one of our colleagues actually was a mutual follower. From that I spoke to Alex, who was in the office the next day. I was really excited. How do you know this guy? And from then it turned out that these two went to school together. And since that moment I've always had this vision that we get to be able to work with Karl, because for me he's an embodiment of what we're trying to do here. Everything that we do is about stories and being authentic and sharing different people's messages. So for this one, I think it's really important that Alex and Karl have this conversation, because those two have a relationship, they have a connection, and that's what we're trying to bring to our audience. So I really hope that you do enjoy this one. It's a real privilege to be here, and this is everything that we're trying to achieve. So please stay tuned and enjoy.
Hi guys, Jamie Monk here. As you can see, the streets of Brixton has changed me quite considerably. Yeah.
I mean, when I actually, for 1 second, was like, Jamie, man. You mean Alex Kumiatsu? Wait a second. That was trippy. Sometimes I get these moments where I'm just not here with everyone. I didn't catch it straight away, you know. You didn't catch it either, yeah? I didn't know what was going on. I was like, Jamie, has he legally changed his I said, I was talking about code switching, not switching your whole name. So it's too exotic, yeah?
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's the reaction I wanted. So Jamie's doing, just to give some context, Jamie's doing an intro video before this goes on.
Yeah, because he's done it now.
Because he's done it.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm just trying to give a bit of banter and change up the script.
Cool,
but but I see that reaction. Let me tell you. So that reaction is why it has to go in. I need to get water. Carl. So guys, today I'm with a very, very powerful gentleman who has many titles. Some say ex-gang leader, some say influencer, poet, public speaker, adventurer. I'm quite lucky to say good friend and brother. The man of the moment, the man of the future, Karl Lokko.
My man.
How you doing, Karl?
We're all right. You teed that one up brilliantly, by the way.
Listen.
It's like I paid you.
Listen, let me tell you something. You're a man of many titles.
Come on.
And I've got to give recognition where it's due. You know, you've done so much. Luckily, I went to school with you, so our history is very long.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think I had to give people that context in terms of where you are and where you've been and where you are today. Now, it's quite funny because obviously we went to school, spent many years together.
Yeah.
And one of the key things for us to start this off is, after school, everyone wants to go to university. Some people want to get jobs. Where did you go, Karl?
Good question. Where did I go? I mean, so after school, we were on some conveyor belt of sorts, you know? So we know that after school, in terms of secondary school, it's going to be college or sixth form. I went to John Ruskin College.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I did, and I'm pretty sure you're teeing me up here. You're a bad person. Yeah, but I ended up getting kicked out on my first day of college. You know,
I was quite surprised to hear.
Yeah. And at the time, it was the second biggest riot in Croydon that had ever actually happened, and there was a huge kind of like altercation, you know, where actually there was some mishandlings actually with Croydon police at that time. But I mean, yeah, it's a part of the story, I guess. But yeah, so I ended up getting kicked out of John Ruskin, and then I went to Clapham College. I ended up doing, what did I do at Clapham College? Feels like a lifetime ago. I did an access course. Yeah, I did an access course at Clapham College. Ended up dropping out that year. And then came back again. And when I say I came back, each time they only gave me admittance because of my mother. Wow. My mother went over there and put on I mean, a Nollywood cry. You know, not a normal cry. It is let my son in, you know. He's fiercely intelligent, just a little misguided, you know. And the first time she said that, they were like, but then we see it, but we don't see it. Because by that time, in terms of doing my GCSEs, my friend was murdered the day before my exams, you know, as you know. And I was actually, that was heavy, you know. So obviously I couldn't concentrate in the exams.
Of course,
you know. So my grades didn't reflect, you know, my capacity.
Because let me jump in, because I have to say, we were in the top set in every single subject.
Every subject. Every subject. I mean, I did my year 9 SATs in year 6.
Yeah.
You know, I was kind of diagnosed a genius of sorts, you know. So I mean, but obviously things deteriorated by then. Other influences were at play, and I mean, losing a friend the day before your exams, you know, the night before, you know, in such a violent way, obviously is gonna have an effect. So I mean, in terms of my grades, didn't reflect what my mother was telling them. So she was like, just give him a test. And they ended up handing me a literacy and a numeracy test, because she was like, he should do A-levels, and they were like, no, I mean, he's not gonna, like, he hasn't scored enough for it. And I mean, they ended up letting me do the A-levels because they gave me this numeracy and literacy test, of which I aced. And then they were like, all right, cool. So I ended up joining in about 2 months late, actually. You know, but I mean, dropped out, so, you know, but came back again, got it done. And then, I mean, we started rocking, you know, and my reformation came a little bit later, you know, so I was able to concentrate. So I went back to college again. I went Tower Hamlets College now. Did another access to humanities. Ended up getting distinctions in that. And then through those distinctions, actually got access to LSE, Oxford, and Queen Mary's, and I ended up opting for Queen Mary's, actually.
Amazing.
Yeah, so,
Amazing. And from then on, things changed with you. There was a lot of things. I mean, I was hearing things you was doing, and I was like, whoa. You know, there's a lot of activities you've been, a lot of people you've met, a lot of hands you've shaken, which, if we look at things from back in school, we wouldn't probably expect these things to happen. Where did that stem from, in regards to what triggered that moment where you really thought, okay, I can become something here?
Do you know what? I was afforded some privilege, and the privilege I had wasn't in terms of resources, but it was the earliest influences or influencers in my life, key ones such as teachers and parents, they all sang from the same hymn sheet. You know, was that I was a very capable young man, you know, so I believed them, you know. Like, as I said, I was really good at regurgitating. You know, so our British schooling system is one that if they give you information and then they ask for it at a later date and you give it back to them as they gave it to you, everyone claps, you know? And I was second to none at that. So, I mean, all my test papers, everything was kind of just, it was always green ticks, smiley faces, 100%, you know? So, and they kept on telling me that I could be and do whatever I wanted to be and do, you know? So, even with my prior gang involvement, I opted to become that, you know, because it seemed like a solution to the problems that we were facing, real problems, the reality that I was waking up to every day, you know. So after denouncing that and seeing that that's not actually a solution, and that once upon a time I was actually defining that way of living as a win. That was the definition of winning. When I realized that it was actually taking more than it was given and I was losing. So I decided to be something else, to do something else, to become something else. And I had that same conviction that I would be able to do so. You know, so I did always kind of have that kind of like a bit of faith in me, you know? So and I tend to take massive action, You know, I don't really know halfway.
Don't we know it?
I'm a man of extremity, you know? So if this is the direction, I'm just going to, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, and I've been very lucky.
So, man of action. I'm gonna tell a young story from one of our school days.
Yeah.
Where I noticed the leader within you, and I saw it firsthand. And to give some people some more context, whenever people hear the gang life, it's always linked to the negative side to it.
Yeah.
However, in school, I saw Karl the leader. Now, I'm going to tell everyone this story, and I'm going to be very open and honest about this story.
Okay.
So, we went into detention in school, probably told our parents that we had maths after school class. And during that period of time, we wasn't allowed to go to the estate in Streatham, Arbor Gardens. Reason being, students were being attacked,
Yeah, there
mugged.
was a lot of happenings.
Lots happening. So
Yeah.
Mr. Desar, our head teacher, made a massive announcement in
Yeah.
assembly that if you go through this estate and something happens to you,
Yeah.
you will be in trouble.
Yeah.
I quote his words were, "I will come down on you like a ton of
Ton of
bricks."
bricks. Yeah. It's always a ton of bricks.
Always a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
So one day we were going home,
Yeah.
and we was with Jonathan and Thomas, who were geniuses,
Yeah.
A-star students.
I mean, a
And-
little bit further than A-star.
Okay,
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
the top.
I mean,
end.
year 9, they sat level 8 papers.
Yeah.
You know, of which the national average was what, level 5 at
Five,
that time?
Yeah. So we're talking. So these guys were extraordinary in terms of their learning.
Yeah.
And they were with us going home with Karl. And we all knew the rule that Mr. Desar had said
And why he said it.
and why he said it.
Yeah.
So as we're approaching Albert Gardens, we're starting to bear to the left, whereas Karl was bearing to the right. And we're like, "Oh, Karl, yeah, we need to go this way." You're like, "But the bus stop's through here, the
Which
estate."
is true.
It is true. However, there is more steps. I'm going to keep to our bread. There's more steps in going through the longer way to the bus stop.
Yeah.
And we're like, "No, Karl, we can go this way." You're like, "No, but guys, the bus stop is here." And we all followed Karl. We all went through. So, okay, fine. Now, my heart was beating.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it now because it's many years. I didn't want to go through that estate, but I'm with Karl. That's okay. Karl had this conviction. You had this look in you to say, "Guys, it's going to be okay." Well. We walk through this estate. What do we see? There's about 30 young boys waiting. And I'm just like, "Oh my God, we're just gonna get attacked. This is gonna go well. We're gonna get excluded from school. Our parents are gonna blame us." And then I felt like our life had ended at that moment. But I looked at you, and your face was still you had conviction. There was no fear at all. So we get approached by these boys, and you said in the most calm way that, "Guys, we're walking through this estate. Nothing's gonna happen. If you have a problem, please come to Brixton and we'll be able to resolve it." And I think the boys were shocked that this guy, like to the point where they asked you, "What did you say?" And you said, "I'm not going to repeat what I just said. You heard." And in that moment, my hands are in my pocket and I'm shaking.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh my God, this is really happening right now." And they let us through.
Mm-hmm.
They let us through. I
It
mean,
worked out.
Jonathan and Thomas, they were praying hard in their heads.
I can
It
see their
worked out.
faces now.
Oh, it was,
No, I can actually see, in my mind's eye, I can see their faces.
it's one of those moments where even till today, they will never forget. And I remember on the bus home, I was like, "Oh my gosh, what's just happened here? Wow, God just did that." And I tried to do it the next day, and I got chased. I don't think my CV was strong enough back then. So with that, in terms of your leadership, in terms of previously being in the gang, your leadership skills have remained till this day.
Yeah.
But are there any other aspects that you do miss from that sort of lifestyle?
Ooh. I mean, I'm someone that thrives with uncertainty.
Yeah.
And there's few arenas with as much twists and turns and labyrinth-esque kind of like traverses, as gangsterism or the streets. So in terms of just the kind of like all-out adventure, you know, that's probably a part I would say I miss, in terms of the feeling of, you know, what could happen. You know, it's just like a constant, like the suspense, you know? And just, I think over the years I actually got quite accustomed to a certain level of adrenaline, you know, of which when I was reformed, realized that there was a deficit, you know, that, I don't have these chemicals and these pistons firing, you know? So, yeah, I'll say that side of things, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're still a man of action.
Come on.
Still a man of thrill.
Come on.
Surprisingly, if we were in an area and you said, Ax, we're going to go down here, I would still follow you.
Yeah.
But my heart would still pound.
Yeah. And it's okay to pound.
It's not.
It is okay
It's
to
not.
pound.
Because my leg was shaking. No, that day.
No,
my
but
whole
that's the
life
adrenaline
reminds.
too.
It
I mean,
is.
that leg shake, that is the adrenaline. My one was doing that. I just make sure I learn to do it very subtly, you know, rather than the shake as a vibrate. Yeah, but we're here for it, my man.
Oh, brilliant. Now, I want us to touch base on something which you shared with me personally. And of course, you've achieved the pinnacle of two polar worlds. And you've taught me something quite unique, which I do love: pivot and pursue.
Come on.
Something which you shared with me during the lockdown when I came to you for some advice. Now, what is pivot pursue? What is that mindset, and how has it helped you? If you could elaborate for us.
I mean, it's in terms of the language. Yeah, I actually I've drawn that from very much a Tech Valley pivot and persevere. You know, in terms of think big, act quick, fail fast, you know? So if you do have an idea, you know, pursue it, you know, go for it, you know, give it a go. And then with the practice of movement, putting it into practice, you're then getting data. Like you're then being informed, you know, as to what works, what doesn't work. And if it's clearly not what you anticipated in terms of, I don't know, product market fit or the overall appetite, you know, of the audience, you know, this is not what they actually want. And you can like clearly identify that now as you've taken the step, you just pivot. No shame in that. You know, it's like, all right, this one, no, this ain't it. Pivot, cool. And if it is something that is, you know, the response, you know, is an indication that there is an appetite for this, you know, that this could be useful, it could serve someone, it could be a success, then you persevere. It's very simple, you know.
It's so simple and so effective, but many people don't take advantage of that.
Yeah.
They don't. They rather stay, complain. And when you explained it to me and the way you broke it down, I was like, oh my goodness, this makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't like something, switch. As simple as that.
Simple. I mean, I was doing it without the language, so I was struggling to articulate it to people. It would just be more like, I don't know, something like a Dr. Pepper advert. Like, what's the worst that can happen? You know, because there's just this fear that would cause like a level of paralysis, you know, with the uncertainty. But again, I became very accustomed to uncertainty. You know, I realized that those were the spaces where I would do the most growing, the most learning, you know, and I would actually have to draw on the most. You know, I had to, like in those scenarios, you just don't know what you're going to be presented with, so you have to react, you have to respond. And in those reactions and in those responses, you know, I learned things, you know, and then I also began to have confidence in my ability to escape. And that's a big one.
That's big.
You know, so with the pivot, you know, some people feel like as if they're going to be snared by that previous failure, you know, or They're going to sustain so much damage that maybe they're going to be unable to rise again, you know, and pursue something new. But I mean, I became very accustomed with just, there is tomorrow. All right, that didn't work today, but tomorrow something else would work. You know, so I'll be on my pinky in the brain every day. You know, I'm like, what we doing today? Today we're taking over the world, my man. You know, but we tried that yesterday. Yeah, I know we did. But today I got a whole new way, you know, and just keeping that going. So yeah.
And I remember you mentioned in terms of in films, you always see this repetition of, okay, it didn't work, we try again.
Yeah.
It didn't work, we try again.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. Just literally changing the whole concept of the mind. It's brilliant. And something I want to touch on is your recent TEDx.
Yeah.
Master code switch.
Come on.
Very powerful statement.
My man.
Something that I was having a conversation with Jamie actually in terms of, I can actually relate to that in terms of when I'm in the office or when I'm outside, I've got to wear different coats.
Yep.
Sometimes different hats.
Yep.
And with you, there's been so many chances you've had and you've spoken to so many different people, been in so many different rooms. You must always, like you said in your TEDx, obviously you still remember who you are.
Yeah.
And that's important
Completely.
to you.
Yeah.
Now, for those who are doing this, probably without even realizing, what is the sort of advice you want to give out to them?
I would say that every environment has its own set of protocols. Yeah. So, for example, even like if I'm going to go visit my mum, they have the protocol that when you enter the home, you take your shoes off at the door. You know, so even though I might have just been to, I don't know, 3 homes in the last hour, you know, if that's not their overall like culture, or that's not the code of conduct there, code again, switching the code, if that's not what they do there, if that's not their practice, then I can keep my shoes on, no problem. You know, but if it is a space where that's the expectation, then I need to do what's appropriate, you know, and it's on some level it's a bit of cooperation, you know, and don't see it as too much of a compromise, you know. Yes, there is certain esteem given to some ways of being and some ways of doing that isn't necessarily founded on like reality or truth, you know. Like for example, like I mentioned in the my most recent TED around the code switching, that just because someone's wearing smart apparel doesn't mean that they're necessarily smart, you know. And what's to say that that is smart apparel and this is, so what's this, dumb apparel? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, who came up with that?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, who holds the monopoly on what that is? But I feel like it's just around kind of understanding the nuances in certain environments and surfing those waves, you know? Because if you do learn to surf those waves and understand what represents in this space a high tide, you know, then you're gonna have the most success. You know, so for me, it's around you can still be you while adhering to the protocols of particular environments, you know?
Powerful.
Yeah.
That's spoken a lot of volumes to me, definitely, because I think there's sometimes this ideology of not trying to be fake, and it's not that.
Yeah.
It's not that at all. So
No.
you've answered it perfectly.
I mean, I had to do it first of all in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
On my estate. Like my mother, I was a late bedwetting, kiss my mother every day, cry when they look at me, let alone shout. Like
truth is coming out, guys.
complete and absolute what you would refer to as a boffin. I mean, I had company with books. Yeah. It wasn't like just reading, I felt like it was a friend. Like I'd get lost in those worlds, like that was, and I felt bad if like I stepped on a snail. Yeah. Like the crunch under the sole of my feet would haunt me. You know, so it's not even like I I didn't come out of my mother's womb a gang member.
No.
You know, but I understood the environment I was in, understood the nuances, and I surfed the wave.
Powerful. Now, Carl, I need to tell you a story. Now, I've never told you this story, actually.
Okay.
So this is quite new of me, actually. So this story, I want you to take your mind back to the 19th of May, 2018.
Okay. I mean, I have no clue what I was doing on the 19th of May.
Oh, you will once I tell you this story.
Okay.
So I was at home, as you do, and I think I was actually making plans of going out. TV's on.
Yeah.
It's a big event, big event. There's a marriage happening. one which I'm going to be honest with you, it wasn't something that I had planned to watch, but my mother loves the royal family.
Yeah.
Loves the royal family.
Yeah.
So
I almost thought it was my wedding day. I was like, I just put myself in it. Even though it's my ex-wife, I was like, that's not good to have on camera. The fact that I didn't even remember how I was, thank God, it was the up and up
That was
juice.
so
Got
funny.
it, got
I
it,
looked
got
at
it,
your
got
eyes
it.
and you was like, what?
I was like, I stepped in it. But yeah, all right, cool. Yes.
So-
I'm with you. Big day.
Big day.
Big day. Big day.
Not your big day, someone else's big day.
No, my big day too. Big day. It was a destiny moment.
And
Yeah.
I want to touch base on that because
Yeah.
I was super proud. So my mum, I'm there and my dad's watching my mum, as he always does. And I walk into the room and my dad's like, oh, isn't that your classmate, Karl Lokko? I'm like, huh? She goes, I think I just saw him. It's me. What are you watching? Oh, the wedding, this is me. What? I sat down and I stared at that screen and I said, there's no chance. Dad, go back. he
And now we can
rewinded.
rewind television.
Yep.
Look, the future.
Sky Plus,
What time to be
rewinded,
alive.
and I was like, OMG. Yes, that's Carl. And I was so happy and I was like, oh, so we've made it. Carl's there.
Come on.
Now, my mum was like, wait, that's your classmate Carl? I said, yeah, mum, that's Carl. Carl's on TV with his wife, yeah. And she's like, you went to school? Yeah, mum, Carl, you know Carl. Lokko." And you're just sitting here. It's me, what? She goes,
You have to love a guardian mum, you
she
know.
goes, your friend that you went to school with,
This is what your age mates
this
are
is
doing.
what your friend is doing. He is at the royal wedding. Look at his nice suit. And you're sitting here.
Oh, man.
My dad was in tears, laughing, and she was being dead serious. She wasn't
I
joking.
know it, bro.
She was being dead serious. She's like, so why are you not there with him? I'm like, Mum, I don't know. Mum,
Yeah.
let's just watch the wedding. No, this is and she gave me a long speech. She goes, yeah, I want to be proud just as Carl's mum watching this. Carl's mum is probably watching this and thanking God, and you're just sitting there. But for me,
Yeah.
and you probably, I don't know if you're aware, but even on Facebook and whatnot, there was a lot of people from school that took pictures of you on TV saying, I know this person, I went to school with this person.
Yeah.
And it was probably one of the proudest things to say that, to know that I have someone close to me that was at that wedding. It was such a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
Something that I would share
No, it was
with
a
many,
destiny
many people.
moment, 100%. I feel that way.
Did you ever think you'd ever be invited to such an event? Ever? I mean, looking back from the school we went from the area that we grew up, to make it to such events.
Nah. Nah. I mean, no. Yeah, nah, not at all. I mean, come on. I mean, I'm from the ends, you know? I'm from like down that side, you know?
The old Brixton, as I always tell people.
I mean, my man. Yeah, listen. Whether it's worlds apart.
Crazy.
Sometimes people see me at 10, let's just call it 10, yeah? And they celebrate the 10, they congratulate me for the 10, and they're like, this is awesome. Because they know that in this world, like to go from 0 to 10 is a thing, you know. But they're just not acknowledging that I came from minus 100. You know, so when they say in the 10 and congratulating me on the 10, I'm like, but you're missing out.
You're missing out
You're missing
the 100. The
you
100
know what I mean? The
levels you have to fight through.
100. This is like, and there's just so many barriers, you know, and nah, I didn't foresee it that way. No way. It's just, how can you? I'm the son of illegal immigrants from like certain socio-economic group, you know, where, I mean, hardly anyone's parents was earning even over 30, 40K a year, you know, where holidays were non-existent, where, you know, my parents would sit me down like Christmas season and have adult conversations with me about why Santa can't visit us. You know, like why presents is not an option this year.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, nah, there's just no way you're gonna foresee it in that light.
Yeah.
You know, under that light, you can't see that, you know, but we've seen it. We've seen it.
And I want you to know that we've seen it.
Yeah.
You know, I was at that wedding.
Yeah.
That's how I felt it.
Yeah.
I sat and I watched just because you was there.
Yeah.
I cancelled my plans and I sat and I enjoyed that wedding so much, just knowing that you was there.
Yeah.
So I really hope you done a 2-step for me, bro.
Oh, listen, my man, it was a great day. Honestly, it was a great day, and you know, like it's no secret. HRH, I wouldn't say the correct term before I say, you know, and I'm pretty sure that's not even the correct term no more, is it? I don't think so. But I mean, like, it's no secret. Harry's a friend of mine,
Yeah.
you know, and to be able to share in that, you know, was, yeah, it was beautiful. But I call it a destiny moment because not only was it a destiny moment for me, but it was also a signal to the rest of the world too. You know, there was, yeah, it just kind of spoke to a coming change, you know. So yeah, no, it was huge.
Oh, thank you, Karl. Thank you very much for that. Now, I wanted to touch base on the power of manifestation because you're a big believer in that. And you recruited me on board to this mindset.
Come on.
You forced my hand.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell people why you forced my hand. So, lockdown, obviously, I came to you for some advice. You know, I wanted to. I was really in a. I think a lot of us, lockdown affected us quite a lot.
Absolutely.
And I
think it's still affecting us as well.
Yeah, a lot of us. And I messaged you, said, Karl, it's been a long time, let's have a good catch up. You said, come through, and I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to see me. And I'll share just one bit of advice that you gave. And you told me to go away and literally write down the eulogy that my son will say at my funeral. And I looked at you when you told me, and I was like, this guy's a madman. You really want me to write this down? And you know what? I did.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to do.
Yeah.
But it was a very wholesome experience,
Yeah.
if I'm going to be honest with you.
It's a brilliant
And
exercise.
It touched me quite deeply. Now, here's the thing where you're in trouble, Karl.
Okay.
8 weeks later, my wife came and told me she was pregnant. And after the tears and
So manifestation, that's it.
After the tears, after everything, and I calmed down, I said to her, oh my gosh, this is Karl's fault. And she looked at me, she's like, what has Karl got to do with me being pregnant? And I was like, no, Karl, the power of manifestation.
Don't come and kill me now, you know, it's serious.
And she looked at me like I was mad. However, I am now a big believer in manifesting these things.
Yeah.
And tell me, how, like, you've obviously given me some example. How has it worked for you, and why is it that it's so important to you?
I mean, my man, that's almost how long is a piece of string, so, you know, but for me, I'm quite a big believer on the chaos theory.
Yeah.
You know, and that small things can have great ramifications, you know? And that being said, how small does that thing have to be? Could it be a fort? You know, and for me, it's more around the coincidences that compound when I present myself to the world in a particular way, you know, and I do believe that the inner world affects the outer world, you know, and this could be as simple, it doesn't have to be so heebie-jeebies and like hippie-like. I mean, this is just like having a plan. Where does the plan start? In the realm of thought, you know? You have to think about it and then plan, and then you might scribe it, you know, pen and paper, and then there it is. And for me, it's already made a bit of a transition into the physical realm. You know, it's become more of a reality just for the fact you have written it down. For me, it becomes more of a reality for the fact you have told another person. It becomes more of a reality when you start to kind of like build a team around it, you know? So it becomes more of reality when you begin to position yourself in a place that you might be able to receive this thing, you know? So I feel like manifesting, you know, I don't see it as a, like you just stay in a dark room and just say one word over and over again, or a sentence over and over again. Yeah. But I feel like if you do use affirmations, I believe in affirmations, but I also believe in massive action.
Yeah, massive action.
And that's the, you know, for me, it's like, all right, cool. I've said this thing, this is on my heart. I want to see this in the world. Cool. Now that I've said it, I need to say it in everything I do, you know? So, yeah. But yeah, I'm a firm believer, as you know.
I've known it too well, sir. Firsthand. Oh, Karl, mate, this has been amazing. I want us to end in terms of what is the future looking like for Karl Lokko? You know, your passion, your values, where is that, what direction are you heading into?
Do you know, I'm very fortunate, you know. I have hit a sweet spot, you know. I am at that equal parts missionary, and mercenary, you know. I have found a vehicle where I'm able to bring about impact, you know, but also bring about returns, you know. And I have found that vehicle in venture capitalism, you know. And that being said, I've always kind of seen the exclusion, you know, and I know what I have personally had to do to be included. You know, I know what it took to generate the network I have. Yeah. You know, and are there others that reach a similar place or that summit, that height, and they haven't had to climb the North Face? Yes, 100%. Did I have to climb the North Face? Yes. You know, is that a completely different mountain for the adventurers out there? Yes. They know that because that place sees the least light. You know, so it's a completely different terrain. You know, it's going to take you different kind of tools to get up on that side of the mountain. Do I believe that that is fair? No. You know, do we live in a world where meritocracy exists? No. You know, have I acquired a nepotism? Yes. You know, I might not have inherited it, but I've acquired it. You know, I was doing at one point 30 to 40 one-on-one meetings a week. You know, and I kept that cadence for several years. You know, and you know, it's accrued me a network that I can use to bring into fruition certain hopes, you know, aspirations. So I've been looking for a vehicle where I can give that over, you know. And yeah, I mean, it exists in Black Seed, you know. So over the next like decade, 2 decades, yeah, this is where I'm gonna be. It's gonna be moving capital and allocation to where, you know, it just hasn't been going, you know, because there is the overall poor estimation, because that's all underrepresented means. It means underestimated, you know. So for me, I'm gonna spend the next decade, 2 decades of my life moving capital in a direction that proves that, you know, not one group holds the monopoly. You know, so in this iteration, it's explicitly bringing capital to black founders, you know, that can use it to scale businesses, bring about these generational companies, these black unicorns, and actually change what the face of entrepreneurship looks like on planet Earth.
Wow, that's amazing. And remind me, you guys raised how many millions? How quickly?
My man, I mean, do you know what it is? Again, I need to put it to, these are closed communities, closed networks, of which, without acquired nepotism, it won't be possible. I always want to put that disclaimer out there, you know. But that being said, we've had clarity of vision right from the beginning, so we've been able to put in some brilliant partners. You know, we've worked with the likes of Google to DeepMind, to NatWest, you know, and we've got some top quartile investors, you know, to jingle the pot, alpha generating investors, you know. So I mean, we've been very fortunate. But that being said, we got to our first close in terms of raising the capital in about maybe like just shy of a year, you know. And when I say raising the capital, first close, how that works is to get the party started and being able to actually deploy the capital in directions where it's needed, you know, to actually give the runway to these founders to, you know, create. Instead of actually waiting until you finish raising the full amount, you can draw it at some point. And we, of this £10 million fund, we've drawn it at 6, you know, so just under a year it took us to raise 6 million. But we're first time fund managers. That's really impressive. So in terms of putting that, that is a unicorn in itself.
It is.
It tends not to happen in that way, you know. So yeah, been very fortunate.
Karl, see, the next time I'll come to you for advice.
Yeah.
And anything to do with manifestation. Could you give me a challenge to try to raise funds within the next 5 years?
Okay, cool.
No babies, please.
Yeah,
brother.
cool.
No babies, please.
I thought that's where you were going with it.
No, Karl, thank you very much. This has been very inspirational. I've really learned a lot from this conversation, and I hope our viewers will do. You know, we're going to make sure our viewers can get your content.
Yeah.
They can watch your journey and watch you go and reach the stars, my brother. I mean, you've already reached the stars, so it's the next universe.
Yeah, come on, my man, and there's many more. It's an ever-expanding universe too, you know.
As always,
we're here for it. We're here for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Karl Lokko.
Come on, man.
And Jamie Monk.
My brother, steady.